What's up everyone? I hope you've all been doing well. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Veronica, and if you're new here, I talk about all things fashion and sustainability. So for today's video, it's going to be a little DIY tutorial, and we're going to be making some tote bags. One of the most sustainable things that we can do as consumers is reduce our plastic consumption, and although it can be really difficult trying to buy plastic-free groceries, we can reduce the amount of plastic bags that we use. So for today's video, I'm going to be showing you 3 different tote bags that you can make for yourself, or these could be also a really good gift idea since the holidays are coming around. So without further ado, let's just get straight into the video. Supplies you will need are a ruler, erasable pen or chalk, pins, fabric weights, a rotary cutter or fabric shears, as well as a cutting mat and your choice of a medium weight fabric. Since I'm making 3 different style bags, I'll be using 3 different fabrics. First thing you want to do is fold your fabric with the right sides facing each other. For this first tote bag, we're going to be making a regular magazine style tote bag. You want to measure out a 16 by 17 inch square. This is with seam allowance included. I used my erasable pen to mark out all my lines and cut it out, leaving one edge on the fold, so I only have to sew 2 sides. But you could sew all 3 sides if the fabric doesn't permit you to fold it. For the straps, you're going to need 2 3-inch by 23-inch rectangles. Once you have it all cut out, now you're ready to sew. Normally, I like to have the folded edge on the bottom of the bag, and I would just sew the 2 sides. But whenever I was cutting out the fabric, I realized that the bird would be upside down if I put the fold on the bottom. So I just decided to do 1 fold on the side, and I would sew the bottom and 1 side to close it up. I then pinned the 2 sides together and I sewed them at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. For the straps, I gave them a press to de-wrinkle, and I folded the edges a 1/2 inch in and pressed them down. I then folded it in half to meet the other side and pressed it together. Repeat the same thing with the other strap. I then pinned everything together and sewed a seam as close to the edge as possible. Now we're going to attach the straps to the bag. You want to place the straps facing the correct side of the fabric, making sure that the straps aren't twisted whenever you pin them onto the bag. You want to place them about 3 to 4 inches away from the side seam. You then want to take the other strap of the bag and place it on the other side and pin it in place, lining up with the other strap to make sure everything is even. Now we're going to clean up our raw edges. I used my serger machine to clean up the raw edge, but you can use a zigzag stitch or a French seam. After serging both raw sides, you then want to serge the top edge of the bag with the straps attached. And this way the straps are sewn into place and you can remove the pins. I like to leave an inch of extra serger thread at the end of my projects so that I can tuck it away nicely and it doesn't unravel. I take my loop turner and I tunnel it through the seams and pull through the thread, tucking it inside, and then I cut off any excess. Now to sew the top edge, you want to tuck the serger thread inside and fold the edge 1 inch in, and sew a top stitch on top of the serged edge all the way around. To sew the straps in place, I sew a rectangle along the edge where the bag and the strap meet. And for extra security, you can also add an X on all 4 sides. After you've sewn the straps into place, flip your bag inside out, and now you have yourself a new tote bag. For the second tote bag, we're going to be creating one similar to the first one but larger and with a flat bottom. The measurements are up to you, but I cut out a 20-inch by 25-inch rectangle. I didn't have enough fabric to fold these, so I used 2 different fabrics and will have to sew all around the 3 sides. For the straps, I also cut 3 inches by 23, but you can make them longer. But for this bag, it will have the modification of having a flat bottom. For this, you're going to grab the bottom corner of the bag and separate the fabric. Fold it to a point so the seam on the side and the bottom meet up in the center. Pin it in place and repeat on the other corner. From that corner point, you want to measure about 3 inches up, and that's where you want to sew your straight line. After sewing the straight stitch, I cut off the extra fabric and I made sure that both sides were even. And to finish it off, I serged the raw edges. This third bag is also going to be a little larger, and I have a flat bottom and flat sides. For this one, you will need to cut 2 18 by 21 inch rectangles. I folded the fabric in half, but I ended up cutting open that fold because you will need both rectangles to be separate. After cutting it out, you want to measure all 3 sides. I measured 55 inches. I grabbed a separate piece of fabric and folded it in half and measured from the raw edge to the folded edge 27.5 inches, which is half of 55 inches. I measured where I needed to cut, and then I made the width 7 inches. I marked my lines and cut it out, and I was left with one continuous rectangular piece. For the straps, I kept them the same as the others and did 3 inches by 23. After you have that all cut out, you're ready to start sewing. First thing to do is align the top edge of the long rectangular piece with one of the square pieces at the top, making sure the correct sides of the fabric are facing each other. You then pin the long rectangle all around the 3 sides of the square piece. You then grab your other square piece and pin it on the other edge of the rectangle, just like we did before, making sure to align the top edge of the square. I ended up having a little excess fabric on the long rectangle and cut off the extra to match up with the squares. You're going to end up with a 3D rectangle with a flat bottom and sides and an open top. You then sew all around both edges at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. On the corners, I take it slow and adjust the fabric as needed so it stays flat and the fabric doesn't gather. Once you're done, you want to clean up all your raw edges and add the straps the same way as the other 2 bags. I also decided to cut a box that measured perfectly to fit on the bottom of the bag to give it some more structure, which you could also do for the second tote bag. And now you know how to make 3 different tote bags for you and your friends.